distribution, I can associate values of x with their frequencies. So, and I can cumulate frequencies from I equal 1 to p. So this kind of thing is called the cumulative frequency. We use a lot of cumulative frequency in statistics to represent distribution. So you have the mathematical definition just below. So if you have an ordinate variable, you can describe the distribution with the value, the frequency, relative frequency, but also the cumulative relative frequency. So it's one more column, and we can do this only for ordinate variables. I'm pretty sure that you have seen this in class. So this is the empirical cumulative distribution function, which is associating the value of x with their relative cumulative frequency. The value of x, we call them the quantile. So one quantile is a value of x corresponding to a given cumulative frequency. Another way to represent data. Sometimes your data, they are bivariate. So you may have two categories. For instance, you want to represent the color of A's together with the color of hair. So hair and A's together. So it's possible to represent the two colors by doing a contingency table. So this is a cross table. So we will count how many individuals will have blue eyes, blonde hair, blue eyes, brown hair, blue eyes, black hair, black eyes, black hair, and so on and so on and so on. So that rather than to make a table, we can make a plot. So you have a kind of plot here. We call that plot a mosaic plot. This is a mosaic plot. So we associate two categories. We will do this today. So let's move now to continuous variables. So continuous variables are variables that take real values. So in theory, there is an infinity of values, of possible values. So if you look at your size, and if you are very, very precise, I cannot tell you all the size in the room. It will take me too much time. So rather to associate a frequency with a value, I will associate a frequency with a class. So a class will cut my variable in different intervals. So if the smallest guy in the room, for instance, is 1.5 meters, and if the biggest one is 1.9 meters, I can make 4 classes in the room, 1.5 to 1.6, 1.6 to 1.7, 1.7 to 1.8, 1.8 to 1.9. And I can count in every class the number of observations I have. So it's a convenient way, because if I take all the values, my table will be too long. It will not be a good summary. So as real valued data are ordinate, I can also compute the cumulative relative frequency for each class. So I can do this for each class. If I want to plot this data, I don't use a bar plot. I use an histogram. An histogram, so you see that the x-axis is separated by class. So class 10 to 15, 15 to 20, 20 to 25. And then after, I have size or effective or frequencies. So I can associate a number. So in this sample, I have 6 observations that have values between 10 and 15. It's a representation of the distribution. This is, I would say, a representation that is not exact, but it's a good summary. If you increase the number of classes, will be more exact. So you can do this in terms of size or in terms of relative frequencies. So it is not really different. So you express in percent or you express in numbers. When we have class, the cumulative relative frequencies can be interpolated. So meaning that here I don't have a step like a stair. So I can interpolate from the beginning of the distribution to the end of the distribution. So meaning that I will make an interpolation. Usually we make a linear interpolation. So meaning that I will increase my sample size slowly from the smallest value to the largest value. And I will know the exact quantile for each cumulative frequency. So for the lower or upper bound of each class. You see, it's a little bit different from this. Okay, here I am associating a value with one cumulative frequency. Here, I have to interpolate. So if I go back to my histogram, you see that I have, would say, 6 values between 10 and 15. Okay? 6 values between 10 and 15. If they are equally distributed, I will have one value between 10 and 11, one between 11 and 12, one between 12 and 13, one between 13 and 14, one between 14 and 15. Okay? So if they are equally distributed, I will increase my sample size in a linear way. Maybe they are not, but as my table is a shortcut, I cannot do better than a linear extrapolation. Once we make the linear extrapolation, we can compute the corresponding x for every cumulative frequency. For that, we will do an interpolation. So this is the case here. You see that if you want to find a given value at a given relative frequency, you have to make a cross product. So in biology, you always do cross product. You do that when you do drawing, for instance, for computing the scale. So we do a cross product to estimate the value XA. So the ratio of the blue and the green segment should be the same because it's a linear interpolation. So even if the formula looks a little bit complicated, it's something very, very basic. It's just a cross product. So let's go to some measure because this is the kind of thing that we are going to speak today. So the median, this is the value of x when you reach 50% of the distribution. So the median, I can say that this is the quantile of x at 50%. So I am reaching 50% of my distribution at the median. So this is corresponding to, so this is a value corresponding to the cumulative relative frequency of 50%. So if I go back to what I said. We can also describe central tendency by telling which class is the class with the majority of observation. This class is not necessarily the median. You see that here, the class with the majority of observation is between 20 and 25. We call that the modal class. So this is the modal class. If I show you another example, here the modal class is between 15 and 20. Okay. Finally, something that you know, I hope, because I think your teacher gives you score. I hope that here internal linguistic give a score. So the mean, very important. So the mean formula, you know it, this is the sum of value divided by the total effective. If you want to make it simple, if you associate every effective with a given value, so this is the sum of product of effective with corresponding value divided by total observation. So this is the formula of the mean. If maybe your teacher teach you another formula and was telling you that it was the sum of the frequencies multiplied by the value of x. So that's an interesting formula because when relative frequency are used to estimate the probability of realizing a value of x, we say that this mean, this arithmetic mean, is the expected value of x. So in statistics, we say that this is the expected value of x. In some book, you will find expectancy value or expectancy. So, but in most books, you will see the expected value of x. And it is usually designed by a big E x. So this is the value of x that we expect in average. This is the value of x that will be in the center of the distribution. Imagine that after the class you want to relax and that you are going to play a game with your friend and maybe you are going to play with die. I don't know if in Thailand you play with die, if it's allowed or not. And maybe you will play with a six-sided die. When you play with this, you know that the expectancy of the score for a six-sided die, this is 3.5. So this is the average value of all the value you can obtain with the die. Okay? So if the die is correct, if the die is a special one, you can change the expectancy and you can win money with a special one. But I don't teach you that. Just for fun, you know that probabilities, I'm doing a class about statistics, not probabilities, but probabilities, first, they were not doing for doing biology or for analyzing students. Probabilities in Europe, the rich people, with the Lord, the king, they were very happy to have scientists near them because they really enjoyed to play cards, to play games, to play die. And they were very surprised that some knowledgeable people could predict. They could predict. And this is why probability started. So the probability started because of the games. It was not starting because of biology. So people were interested in probability when they play. If you play the lotto, if you play the card, if you play the die, if you play with money, you need to manipulate probabilities. So this is not only for biology. So let's move again to the mean. So when we compute the mean, we always try to estimate the mean of the population. But we never do that because we always do that from a sample. So you can see that the formula of the mean for a sample and the formula of the mean for the population is the same. So here for the sample and here for the population. It's the same, but there is a small difference. You see that for the mean, I'm using the Greek symbol mu. So the Greek symbol mu, but for the sample mean, I'm not using the symbol mu, I'm using mu with a at. That means that this is an estimate. This is an estimate, and today, my class is about it. It's an estimate. Because in biology, we just estimate, we don't know. We don't know, we estimate. If you have the whole population, you know, but you will not kill all beetles to make your experiment with the beetle crochet. You will not measure all humans because you want to know the measurement of humans. So you will use a sample. So the formula is the same. This is not always the case for all properties. This is not always the case for all properties. And for the mean, it's working because the mean is obeying the law of large numbers. The law of large numbers, you have just two laws to understand statistics. This is this one and the central limit theorem. So the law of large numbers says when you have a large sample, the property of the large sample will be closer to the property of the population. If you have a small sample, you will make a bigger error when you will estimate the property of the population. So imagine that we look at the mean, the average results obtained from a large number of random samples will converge to the true value, to the value of the population. We go close to the 12 when you have a large sample. When sample size is decreasing, you will lose precision. You will lose precision. You will be less accurate. You will be less accurate. So when the sample size increases, the statistical parameter of the sample will become closer to the statistical parameters of the population. It's very basic. It's easy to understand. Large samples are more representative than small samples. We said that we know that. Why it's so important for biology? Okay, I will tell you why it's important. Tomorrow, maybe you are an employee or something like this, you have a job. And your job is to design a medicine. Your job is to design a medicine. Okay? You have to find a medicine for, I don't know, for COVID, for instance. You remember COVID? Scientists were very excited to find a vaccine against COVID. I think nobody's success because there was no 100% efficient vaccine. But they had to make experiments. You remember, before to release the vaccine, they were needing a sample. You cannot release the vaccine without trying. So first they try with mice, and after that they try with mice, they try with a clinical essay, so with humans, after we try on humans, when it's safe. And the efficiency on humans, so this is what you Pfizer made, what AstraZeneca made. So they made their clinical assay on 1,000 humans. 1,000 humans, and after, if there was no side effect, and if the vaccine was efficient, and this is why in country we are not picking up the same vaccine. So if the vaccine was efficient, it will be approved by health authority. So in Thailand, at that time, the Ministry of Health was Anutin, I think. So, and he approved the clinical essay for first AstraZeneca, I think it was first in Thailand. And then after, maybe you get the Chinese vaccine, and after you got the American one. In France, it was a little bit different, because in order to approve, you need to know two things. You need to know the sample size, because sample size gives you the precision, but you need also to know the accuracy, the average response of the vaccine. So, basic thing. I make my experiment with 10 people. And I say vaccine is efficient at 60%. 6 people, you see. Then, okay, I take the vaccine. Let's say that we go in one other country, and this country say, okay, I made 1,000 experiments, and on this 1,000 experiment, 520 people are saved from COVID. So would you go in country 1 or in country 2? You see that in average, it seems that the vaccine 1 is better than vaccine 2. But the sample size to estimate the vaccine 1 is very little. The sample size for estimating the second vaccine is large. As the French, and it was a decision also of the French government, so they were looking for large assets. They were not necessarily looking for accuracy or something like this. They were wishing to make sure that the clinical assay was large enough. In some other countries, like in China, for instance, so they started on a small population, and they see, okay, vaccine is good, we distribute to the population. So that means what? That means that as a government, as a citizen, you have to decide. But you have to decide in order to know two things. You need to know the precision of the parameter, and you need to know the sample size. So this is why we are going to work on the behavior of the mean. It's very, very important, because in biology, plenty of decisions we take is because of that. Second example, and this will be the topic of the second class I will do in 2 weeks. Your teacher in Thailand tell you are going to study stingless bees. And for stingless bees, we have hives. In the hives, we have 2,000 individuals. I want to know how many bees to sample to estimate whether they are contaminated by a product or something like this. So this can be a product or a parasite. So you will not kill all the bees of the hive. Okay, you cannot kill all the bees of the hive. You will need to estimate a minimal sample size. So, and you will have to discuss with your teacher how many bees I have to sacrifice for the experiment. If you say 10 bees, maybe you will not see the contaminant, maybe you will not see the parasite. Maybe you will need 100 bees to find it. So, with statistics and with the methods I will show to you, you will be able to say, I need 100 bees, and I can tell you the confidence at 1%. At 1%, I will be able to tell you how many bees are contaminated or have a parasite. It's important because in biology, if you make a protocol, before to make the protocol, you need to estimate the sample size. So very important. And the second one. So sorry, the title is French, but this is central limit theorem. You see that French and English is nearly the same. Central limit theorem, this is really the most important theorem in your life. This is the more important thing. This is the central limit theorem. Everything in the world is ruled by the central limit theorem. So I will enunciate the central limit theorem. Maybe you will not understand. No problem. Because after we go to spend 3 hours just on this sentence. So I'm going to spend 3 hours to show you by doing an experiment that this is working. So imagine that you have a sample. And that in this sample, you have measurement. So this is measurement, and this measurement on individual 1, individual 2, individual 3. So that you have plenty of individuals, and that you will pick up a few individuals. So let's say that I'm going to pick up n individuals in my sample. And that I'm going to look at the sum of values of these n individuals. Imagine that in average, the measurement in my distribution is a value that I know. So this value, I will call it mu. So the Greek letter mu. So I know the average for the population. But imagine that I am just subsampling that population and that I'm going to sum up n values. So if I sum up these n values, the expected values of the sum will be n mu. N mu. This is, I would say, rather intuitive. But if, in addition, we know the variation, and we are here to study variation, and that the variation among measurements follow the standard deviation sigma. The standard deviation, I will explain later what it is. So, not only we know the behavior of the central tendency for the sum, so the central tendency for the sum will be n mu, but I will be able to know the distribution of the sum. The distribution of that sum will follow a normal distribution. Normal distribution. So normal distribution, this is the Gaussian curve. So this is the bell curve, the curve that you have in shape of bell. And the parameter of this curve are known. We know the parameter of the curves. So the central, the center of the curve will be on n mu, and the standard deviation of the curve will correspond to sigma square root of n. It's a rather complicated. But what does that mean? It means that if you pick up a sum of random observation in a population, so, and that you make this plenty of time, and that you look at the distribution of that sum, it will follow that curve. That starts to be interesting. The mean, it is a sum. The mean is a sum divided by the effective. So the behavior of the mean is the same as the behavior of the sum. And because of that, we can predict the behavior of the mean. So the central limit theorem is not a very old theorem. It's 19th century, just 200 years ago, But this made the life of biologists, of statisticians, very comfortable because they do not have to resample, to redo the experiment, to estimate the mean and the precision on the mean from a sample. So this is what we are going to look at. And before to look at this, I introduce you a few things that I will re-explain next week. I have been speaking about standard deviation. So standard deviation, you know that this is the square root of the variance. Standard deviation is the square root of the variance. The variance, this is a measurement of statistical dispersion. So statistical dispersion will give you an idea about your distribution. So to have an idea about your distribution, you can give minimal, maximal value. This will give you an idea about the range. You can look at the difference between quantile 75%, quantile 25%. So this is the interquartile range. Or you can use the variance and standard deviation. If I have a population, the variance is this formula. So I'm sure that you have seen this formula. So this is the average of the squared difference to the mean. So the variance, this is the average of the square difference to the mean for the population. But be careful. So for a sample, is not the average. This is not divided by the effective. This is divided by the effective minus 1. Okay. Why minus 1? Why it's annoying? So I told you that the mean is nice because it follows the rule of right number and it follows the central limit theorem. So this estimate here, if I use it for a sample, it is biased. There is a bias. The bias on the estimate is because we don't know the mean. We don't know the mean. Because the mean, here, we have to estimate it from the sample. And we make an error on the estimation of the mean. Because we make that error, we are underestimating the variance. I will give you the presentation maybe next week because there are still some typo on the presentation. This is something well known. The fact that we have to divide by n minus 1 and not by n, and this is related to the Bessel correction. So Bessel correction. You have the demonstration here. I'm not going to do the demonstration, but I will give it to you if you want to be more intelligent. Okay. So this is all for theory today, and we are going to look at the central limit theorem with a sample, actually. And this sample is one sample that was used by the American Army to produce ergonomic anthropometric data set. So we will not use it for ergonomics, we'll just use it as anthropology. So we look at the difference between man and woman. But first, we look at the problem with sample estimate. So to do the following, we will do a small break, but before the break, because we will need to do something, we will use our software. So we will use our software, and you will have to install it on your computer. So very basic. To install R on your computer, you have to go on internet, and you type R, and you will be sent to this page. So, rapidly, before you download it, R. Every scientist now is using R for doing statistics. The ones that are not using R for statistics are very old scientists. They are has-been. They are in the past. So we forget these scientists. So you are the new generation. So you have to follow the new generation. You are young. Forget about old teacher or something like this. Do something new. Use R. So every student in that world is using R. Why? First, R is free. It's free. Second, it's made by people from university. Third, it can work on Windows, if you have Windows, on Mac, if you have Mac, and if you are like me, that you don't want to give one single baht, 1 single euro for the distribution, you use Linux. So I just tell this again, Linux, it's a free distribution. When you buy a computer, when you buy a telephone, you give money to, you know, who you give money to. So if you buy a Mac, your money is going to go to, who is the owner of Mac? Yeah, Apple, but Apple, it belongs to someone. Yes, Steve Jobs. So Every time you buy a Mac, Steve Jobs get your money. When you buy Windows, where is the money going? When you buy Windows, yeah?
Raise your hand. Raise your hand and or stand up.
Yeah.
You have to speak.
Okay. With it, who? With the owner of Windows? Yeah. Yeah, Bill Gates. So okay. Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, you don't think that they have enough money? You want to give them more? Okay. If you don't want to give them money, use Linux. Linux, the money is going to nobody because you don't pay. Linux is free. Nobody behind Linux. It's a community of information that work for free. There are people who don't care about money that work. So it's good for me. So you should not pay for you can pay for the machine, you can pay for the component, but you should not pay for the text. So depending where you put your money. So you have to choose whether you are in Mac, Windows, or Linux, and then you can install R on that website on your computer. Sadly, R is not working on Android. So if you have a tablet run with Android, you cannot run R, but you can follow the script. You can follow the script. So I'm using a computer because usually we do science on computer. So tablet, we use it for fun, for internet, for giving money to who is happy with Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Okay, you can give your money to them, not me. But I have a Facebook page. It's difficult to find. But no Twitter, no more. Okay. So I let you install R. If you cannot install on your computer, so the assistant will help you. I will help you too. And we can make maybe a break before to start. Then I will distribute the data set. Maybe someone can distribute by email. Would be good. Would be easy. And we can make a break of about 10 to 15 minutes if it's okay for Argentina. It's time to install R. Install R. So in 15 minutes we go back here, but you need R on your computer. Okay.
I would like you to solve this problem. Whether she should have a studio or not, whatever.
อันนี้สุดแล้ว ที่สุดแล้วสุดแล้ว
ตรงกลางไหม
ตรงกลางเหรอโตโบอะไรกัน
จริง70หมดแล้วล่ะเขาไม่ชอบ
เนี่ยคือแล้วจะบอล
ได้อยู่แค่มันเย็น
สูงไงวะนี่ละมีสูงมันเราไปไกลกว่านี้ไม่ได้มันเราเข้าไปถ้าพักมันนี่มันยาวกว่านี้มันจะตั้งหัวไม่ได้ผมแล้วก็เอากล้องกับ
ไม่อยากหรอก
ใช่นี่ก็พักเรา
เข้าเลยนะก็ที่มันเทียบได้เลยเอาเป็นบ้าตัวนี้บอกไปจะไม่ยืดเอาไปบ้าคุณบ้า
เอานั่นแหละ
เอาขอพันที่การสั่งขออีเมลสักคน2 คนแล้วถูกกระจายโอนอันนั้นเอ็มไม่หยก
เรียนมอ
ไอ้ทีนะแล้วเดี๋ยวเขาให้อะไรเสร็จเลย
So, US. It's fine, ich glaube, es ist kein Spiel.
เป็นชีบอร์ดลง
Das war auch.
เอาหรอเอาจริงหรอไม่มีเลยแบบ
ยังถูกตลอดแต่มอมันเรื่องกัน แล้วก็มาเก็บเกลือ
ไม่ว่าแพงโอเคนะคะ
เสร็จแล้ว
มีใครไม่ลงโปรแกรมคะวิธีโชว์ผิดนะคะอาจารย์ได้เอาหลักเนื้อหาเป็นนะคะเอามาสาวนั่นเองเราไม่เรื่องชีตค่ะไว้นะ
มันจะเป็นเฉพาะของ
ไม่เข้ามาไม่ต้องว้าวพี่นวลค่ะ
เอามาตั้งแต่ไม่ได้ปีหนึ่ง
พี่นวลชีตเดี๋ยวอีก2 อาทิตย์ข้างหน้าเดี๋ยวอาจารย์จะกลับมาใหม่นะคะเพราะฉะนั้นเดี๋ยวเราจะได้ชีตที่ใช้ในการเรียนวันนี้ไม่ต้องกังวลนะคะส่วนคลิปวิดีโอที่โตก็นะคะปล่อยเข้าระบบนะคะเพื่อที่จะได้มีคลิปไว้ที่คนได้ด้วยเพราะฉะนั้นผมถือเป็นรีซอสสำหรับคนเรียนรู้ได้อย่างนะคะเปิดเลยเมื่อกี้หนูได้ส่งอีเมลนะคะได้แล้วให้เพื่อนแล้วใช่ไหมคะได้ทุกคน
ส่งไปในไลน์นะ
แล้วก็คือมันเป็นไปก็เป็นแบบคืออะไรฮะทำอะไรก็หลุดไปรีบลงมานะคะถ้าใครต้องลงมา เดี๋ยวต้องมาแจกจบแล้วตั้งใจเรียนนะเขาก็ไม่รู้เรื่องป่ะ
ร้านแบบไหนเนี่ย
จะเป็นดูกับเพื่อนนั่งทำแบบนี้ได้ไงมีข้อมูลมีไว้สำหรับบันเทิงแต่ถ้าเป็นนักวิทยาศาสตร์ต้องใช้อะไรคอมพิวเตอร์ใช่ไหมคะเพื่อความบันเทิงไม่ได้ใช้การเรียนรู้ได้ยังไงน้ำประวันนี้คือนะคะวางเสียด
อันนี้คืออะไรอ่ะ
เสียงตรงนี้ชัดไม่มันไม่ชัดแล้วเวลาที่ฟังก็ฟังไม่รู้เรื่องมันคุมเครือไปหมดอ่ะเสียงกล้องใช่เสียงกล้องมันจะหายบ้างนะหายหรือว่าไม่หายแล้ว
ได้เป็นที่แต่ต้องเก็บให้ได้ ลังจากที่เพื่อให้พวกหนูทำไมคะมีความหวังว่าจะเริ่มเรียนเมื่อไหร่นะคะ5 โมงเย็นจ้ะเร็วกว่าเวลาทั่วไป1 ชั่วโมงเพราะว่าตามตารางเรียนในระบบอ่านนะคะ5:50ไม่จริงค่ะครูเห็นในระบบ5:50ก็นะคะและให้หนูมีความสุขนี่ค่ะภูมิใจค่ะไม่เกิน5 โมงนะคะอาจารย์จะไม่สัญญาแต่เดี๋ยวในระหว่างนี้ก็จะมีการนะคะฝึกนิดนึงนะคะแพทย์เข้าแล้วก็ช่วงเบรกสัก1 ครั้งโอเคไหมคะไม่ใช่ยาวยิงไป5 เดี๋ยวอันนี้เบรกนะคะแล้วก็ทำไมคะต่อจนแรงมากเข้าใจตรงกันนะคะมันตั้งใจถ้าพวกหนูไม่ให้ความร่วมมือก็อาจจะเสร็จหลัง5 โมงร่วมมือก็ทำไมคะเร็วแล้วถ้าอยากจะให้ไวยิ่งขึ้นอะไรไม่ได้ถ้าพี่เขาช่วยพี่ตะวันพี่ป๋อมแปมพี่โจพร้อมที่จะช่วยพวกหนูเสมอนะคะอาจารย์จูเลียนฟังภาษาไทยเข้าใจนะคะเพราะฉะนั้นพวกหนูระมัดระวังกันนิดนึงนะคะอย่างที่ท่านบอกไปแล้วเพราะที่แบบไหนคะ2 ปีแต่ว่าคุ้นเคยกับประเทศไทยมาแล้วอย่างน้อย10 ปีตั้งแต่คนแรกของประธานโอเคกลับมาทุกคนนะคะเอามีเพื่อนคนไหนหายไปแล้วยังไม่กลับมาคะเดี๋ยวครูจะไปพลิกไปเซ็นชื่อนะคะเพราะฉะนั้นระหว่างนี้หนูเรียนกันให้เต็มที่นะคะกลับมาหมดยังหมดแล้วใช่ไหมคะไม่อยากให้ใครผ่านอ้าวไปไหนคะอาจารย์จูเลียนนะคะจะไม่ทิ้งใจไว้ข้างหลังเขาได้ข้อมูลเนี่ยค่ะเดี๋ยวเราจะได้เลยไม่ทิ้งใจไว้ข้างหลังเพราะฉะนั้นถ้าใครช้าก็ช้าลงไปด้วยกันนะ ลาเรียนไม่ต้องกังวลนะลูกนะถ้าใครลาไปไม่ทันโตก็จะไม่ได้เราติดอะไรหลังจากนั้นระหว่างนี้หนูก็อ่านรายละเอียดของผ่านไปข้อมูลนะคะเดี๋ยวเข้ามาอะไรคะหนาวนะคะจะให้ปิดแอร์หรือจะต้องกอดเพื่อนค่ะเพื่อนเอาค่ะ
ก่อนเพื่อนค่ะ
ก่อนเพื่อนนี้จะได้ก่อนสองพันทุกอย่าง
ก่อนเพื่อนค่ะเราอยากก่อน
ในทางชีววิทยาที่ต้องปรับตัวใช่ไหมคะ adaptation กระบวนการเอาชนะการได้สามแบบในการสอนของหนึ่งปรับรูปร่างในทันทีไม่ได้ปรับสรีระวิทยาได้อยู่ตอนนี้เป็นผู้ชายนะหนาวอันนี้เป็นอะไรนะยังไม่สั่งปรับพฤติกรรมเอาเสื้อมาใส่ค่ะ หัวโตเต้นมาแล้วเนาะพร้อมนะคะ Are you ready? Come on.
Yes. Okay. So we are going to play with a data set to see the problem of sampling and mean estimate. The data set is on this web page. So this page, this is the public page of the American Army, and they make available the data set about 93 measurements on human body for more than 6,000 soldiers. 6,000 soldiers were enrolled in this study, and we have plenty of measurements that were made on these 6,000 soldiers. And the data set I gave to you is not the full data set, it's just part of it. But if one day you are interested by this data set, you can access freely on the web page of the American Army. We are going to study some variable just for fun. Which says that this would be probably difficult to do this class in Europe, but in US or Asia, it's no problem. So because the different people, so they give their measurement, but also we have an interview. And in the interview, we know if they belong to the normal troop, if they belong to the technical part of the army, if they belong to the support part of the army, if they are in special force or things like this. So we know what they do in the army, more or less. We know their origin. So we know if they come from America or if they come from abroad. And we know their ethnicity, so we know which human group they belong. So it's documented in the data set. In the full data set, you have a lot of information, but you have one basic information here that is called DOD race. So this is how the American administration would classify them. So you see that they classify them as white, black, Hispanic or Latino, Asian, Native American, Pacific Islander, or other. So most of you are Asian. Here. And we have another variable very important for us. This other variable, this is male and female. Because in the army, you don't have any guy, but you have girls. So the data set has data for about 4,000 guys, 2,000 girls. And these people are working in different services of the American Army. I have been simplifying the data set very much because we are not going to work on the 93 measurement. The data set, you got it by email. If you want to open the data set, you can open with Excel, if you have Excel, or with LibreOffice. I will show you the data set. Here, I'm not using R, I'm just opening the data set. Okay. And this is just to present the data. It's a very, very big data set. You see, there is more than 6,000 lines. 6,000 lines. So this is a data set. Each line corresponds to one person, one interview for each line. So this line, for instance, here, line 17, so it corresponds to one individual. I will make it a little bit bigger. So it's a male. It is working in Fort Hood. It's working in the regular army. It's working for the Common Service Support. It's coming from Virginia. You see that dot race is 2, so he's a black man. He's 38 years old. And here we have the 8 in inch, and we know that he's writing with the right arm. If I go back to so 17, this one. Okay. I give you some other measurement. Here we have the stature. So rather than to have the 8 in inch, we have it in millimeter. So he is 1,740 millimeter. So a little bit shorter than me, about that size. Okay. So this is the 8 of that man. We have some other information. We have the weight, so 76 kilograms. So this is his weight, and 76 kilograms. And there are other measurements that I get for fun, if you want to play with. So I will increase a little bit the size, so you can see. So I pick up just a few of them because I think it's funny. So biceps circumference when flexible. So ask him to do like this, and they measure the biceps. Okay. So we know who is strong, who is not strong in the data set. So here you have buttock 8. I'm not going to use that that variable. Head breadth. So whether wide head or narrow head. Head circumference. So they were using something to look at the head circumference. Funny. Neck circumference at the base. So they measure the neck here. Good. So stature, weight, and weight. So I'm going not to analyze all of these variables, but you see, they have a lot of information on people already in this data set. There is something else in the data set that we don't have here. In the data set, you have also a picture, because they took a picture of everyone. to look how they stand. So this kind of data you have to ask the US government to access it because it's for restricted use. But for the measurement, we can use the measurement for our study. We are going to look at one variable, the first variable today. Next week, we are going to look at other variables, but today we are going to look at just one variable. We are going to look at stature, okay? So stature, this is the size. I want to play with this data set. So the first thing I have to do is to open the data set in R, okay? So this is the first difficulty. It takes time to open a data set in R. So here my data set is in Excel. So let's open it in R. When I play with R, I usually use a text editor. I have a text editor somewhere, and I have R open elsewhere. For Windows, to open R, you just have to click on the program, R, and it will open. For me, on Linux, I have to call it from the terminal. So this is my text editor. This is all what we are going to do today. You see that we are going to play an example with R. So now you are here, we install R, and maybe you have a text editor on your computer. This text editor, this can be Word, this can be Notepad, this can be JD, something free, something. And we have to read the data set. So for me to open R is rather simple, so I will run a terminal. So you see that for me, R will run in the background. Increase a little bit the size. So I will make this a little bit easier. So you see I have two screens. Below, this is a screen for R, and up, this is my screen for the text. To open R for me, it's with the command line. I do everything with command line. I'm not using the mouse. So here, R is running. So I will make it smaller. So if you are using Windows, you should have something like this. If you are using Mac, something like this too. And you see, R is waiting. He is waiting for command. And here we are going to write the text, and this text will contain the command for R. So the first thing that we have to do is read the dataset. Every time I need to write a command, I will start with hash. Hash sign means that the computer will make it silent. It's to make silent the expression. We need to open the dataset. So to open the dataset, we need first to know one thing. We need to know where is the dataset on the computer. You see that for me, the dataset is here. For me, the dataset is on my desktop. It's here. This is my dataset. If I look at the properties of my dataset, this is the properties. So this is my dataset properties. You see that here you have the path to the dataset. So the path to the dataset, this is how the dataset is stored on your computer. My dataset, maybe not your dataset, is in folder home, subfolder Julien Claude, subfolder bureau. So I think that every one of you can play with property. You may have something property to see where is your dataset. Maybe for you, because you download it, maybe it is somewhere in download. It's important to know where is the dataset because in R, we don't use button. We have to say where it is. So we have to give the path. We say the path to the dataset. So try to find the property. After you see that folder, subfolder, they are separated with slash. In Windows, this is not slash, this is anti-slash. But in R, we use slash. So the first thing I'm going to do, is to set the working directory. I have to set the working directory before to read the dataset. So I will close this and to read the dataset. So first thing I have to do is to set the working directory. So I am writing this, and I'm going to set the working directory. In R, to set the working directory, the command is set wd. And in R, when we send a command, we give the name of the command, we start with parentheses, and we close parentheses. And here, between the parentheses, I will have to write the path to my working directory. So for me, it will be the path that I had. So I copy that path and I write it. Okay. So it's for me. For me, this is a command that is working. So once this is done, I will evaluate my command in R. So you will see that in R, it will be very strange because nothing will happen. I copy, I paste. Nothing happened, there is no error, but if I want to know what is my working directory, I can type get wd, like get working directory, And I know that now I am in home, Julien Claude, bureau. So this is our two first commands in R. This is not easy. Plenty of you will have a problem because if you just copy paste what I made, you copy paste my path. So your path is different. Everybody has a proper path. Mostly for Windows, this will be C, colon, slash, documents, document and setting, users, download or something like this. Be careful, slash, no anti-slash, it is slash. So in Windows use anti-slash, this is slash. So the address in R is the same in Linux or in Mac, this is slash. So I let you do that, and then after we will try to open the dataset. So if you have any problem, just raise your hand and we will help you.
บางคนยังไม่ได้โหลดโปรแกรมเลย คงต้องรอก็อาจจะช้าไปนิดนึงใครยังไม่ลงโปรแกรม R คะยกมือขึ้นยกมือค่ะเพราะว่าจะต้องไปด้วยกันเราจะไม่ทิ้งใครไว้ข้างหลังนะคะยกเว้นกรณีเดียวคอมพิวเตอร์มีปัญหาไม่ต้องอายค่ะยกมือขึ้นเดี๋ยวอาจารย์จุเล่จะไปช่วยให้ค่ะเพราะว่าตอนนี้พี่ตะวันกับพี่โจใช่ได้ดูกับคุณเลยใช่ไหมคะได้ดูใช่ไหมเดี๋ยวมาถ่ายตามคาแรคเตอร์ที่ผมบอกทำไม่ได้เพราะว่าเกิดไปได้อย่างนี้
say it's more ergonomic to use just two screens than four screens. Just has to use four screens.
อ่ะใครไม่ได้ลูกมีใครใช้อาร์สตูดิโอด้วยไหมเนี่ยตอนนี้ใครใช้อาร์สตูดิโอมีแล้วตอนนี้หนูมีมีสีหน้าต่างถูกไหมคะสีหน้าต่างเลยนะมีใครใช้อาร์สตูดิโออีกคะสีหน้าต่างใช่ไหมคะจัดเป็นสีหน้าต่างเนาะใช้ได้ไม่มีค่ะ
So, our studio is an art interface. It's just to play with art. So if you install Art Studio, you will have 4 windows rather than 1. So the windows in the bottom will be the command line of art. And just up to that window, you can write your script. I'm not using Art Studio because it's a proprietary program. I'm just using things that are under open license. But you can use Art Studio, it's free. You don't have to pay for Art Studio.
ไม่ใช่แค่ดูกล้องธรรมดาจะพอเอามาวางไปดูที่ไหนไปที่โซนตัวบรรทัดที่8เนี่ยนะคะนั่นคือ working directory ของอาจารย์เขาของคอมหนูเนี่ยต้องรู้ว่าหนูเก็บไว้ที่ working directory ไหนนะคะไม่ใช่ก๊อปของอาจารย์นะคะนะสำหรับบางคนที่เหมือนไปมันไม่ได้คนที่เก่งคอมน่าจะทำได้ดีนะคะดูเข้าใจไหมลูกไม่ใช่พิมพ์ตามนั้นนะคะต้องรู้ว่า working directory มันอยู่ที่ไหนใช่โอเคไหมคะ
So if you success, please help your camarades, help your neighbors.
ตอนนี้ที่หน้าจอเนี่ยมี2หน้าต่างนะคะหน้าต่างบนของอาจารย์เขาเนี่ยเป็นไฟล์ที่จะมีสคริปต์หรือโน้ตที่อาจารย์เขียนส่วนอันล่างเนี่ยจะเป็นที่เปิดจากโปรแกรมโอเคไหมคะเพราะฉะนั้นอันบนเหมือนเป็นโน้ตหรือว่ามีอะไรที่อาจารย์สามารถใช้ของที่ใส่ในแต่ถ้าหนูใช้ R Studio มันจะมีหมด4หน้าต่างแล้วทีนี้ภายใต้เครื่องหมายวงเล็บหรือ parenthesis ให้หนูไปเอาว่าข้อมูลที่หนูจะอ่านเนี่ยมันอยู่ใน working directory ตรงไหนไฟล์ตอนที่ไฟล์ที่ได้มา ฟคือเซฟไว้ที่ไหนเรื่องกลับไปดูอ่ะจะไปดูที่เขาเอาไปเพื่อนส่งให้หนูน่ะหนูตอนนี้เซฟไว้ตรงไหนเซฟจะเป็นอย่างนี้ลูกเซฟแล้วมันอยู่ดีแล้วเสร็จแล้วไปดูใช่ไหมกลับไปที่บ้านจะไว้ตรงนี้ใช่ไหมตำแหน่งที่ตั้งแนะนำว่าลองดูว่าจะใช้ได้ไหมถ้าไม่ได้ก็ไปเซฟที่ได้ได้ลองดูบางคนหน้าตาเป็นภาษาไทยแนะนำให้ทำเป็นภาษาไทยเอ็นเตอร์ค่ะใส่ชุดฝรั่งถ้าดูแก้ปัญหาได้เดี๋ยวจะส่งคะแนนให้มาหา
อยากได้แอร์คือ
เนี่ยทำการจบแล้วไม่ได้เพื่อนหรือว่าคุณเอ็กเซลโอเคคอมพิวเตอร์บางเครื่องสัญญาณบางอย่างอาจจะไม่ฟังก์ชันในอ่านนะคะอย่างเช่นคอมเพื่อนตัวนี้ไฮสแลชนะคะต้องแทนที่ได้และกดสแลชจะต้องถึงแทนที่ด้วยโซ่ไม่งั้นเราจะไม่เจอคุณต้องใช้อะไรอันนี้จะเป็นหน้าของคอมพิวเตอร์เป็นแบบนี้เพราะฉะนั้นมันจะแหวกไปไหนแล้วแต่เราโปรเฟชชั่นมาว่าต้องเป็นสถานค่ะเนี่ยตัวแรกอย่างที่ใช่อ่ะเขียนสแลชจับได้ของเราไม่ได้อ๋อใช่ใช่เป็นมันไม่ได้หลอกเลยหลอกใครที่แก้ปัญหาที่ความรู้ได้บอลหมูอยากทำบุญไปหาถ้าอยากทำบุญเดินไปหาเพื่อนเราต้องแต่งปัญหาที่ช่วยแก้แล้วอย่าสิ่งที่เราควรที่เราไปกระจายความรู้ค่ะมันไม่ขึ้นเห็นไหมคะจะเอาเข้าไปมันไม่ขึ้นพอดีแต่ไม่โจทย์เป็นเรื่องใหญ่ผม
ก็ช่วยประมาณ
ไม่เป็นไรค่ะอาจารย์เย็นรออยู่แล้วเป็นไงจ๊ะอาจารย์ถ้าผมยังไม่รู้ว่าอาจารย์ผมเป็นจะดูอันนี้เดียวกัน
มันเดียวกันไม่ใช่เป็นเดียวกันแหละแค่
When you know, please help your neighbor.
ไม่ใช่ไหมครับ
หมายถึงว่ายิงต้องเปลี่ยนรันได้แล้วนะจำได้ว่าที่ความรู้เนี่ยก็เอาไปเปิดได้เลยนะได้ตัวต้องเขียนว่าเป็นแล้วเมื่อกี้คุณสังเกต
ทุกคนลองใหม่ได้ยังเรียนมาพูดตรงนี้ ปุ๊บได้ยัง เขียนวิดีโอโอ้ยตัวนั้นเลยเชื่อคิวเลย
So I will show you a few things that is interesting. So the first thing you see is that in R we are not using the mouse. We are not using the mouse. We are not using the mouse. We are using text, and this is good because if you are using text for you, it's very good because you can copy and paste. If you use mouse, you have to remember. So I think that everyone is prepared copy paste than to remember. Okay. So I will show you one thing, one more command that can be useful. To make sure that we are in the good working directory, we will list the file in the working directory. In R, the command is just list.files, open close parenthesis. So in my working directory, I have very few things. You see that I have my personal folder, I have this slideshow, I have ergonomics. So I should have very few things. Okay? So the files that I have on in Bureau is ergonomics and my slideshow. I have just 2 files. Maybe you have plenty of files because in your working directory is a mess. So me, usually, I try to be clean, because not many things at the same time. So this is just one thing. So now, more complicated, we are going to read the file. R can read many datasets. This dataset is written in CSV. CSV, it means comma separated vector. If I open the dataset in a text editor, you will see how it is organized. So here I'm not in R, I'm not in anything. Ergonomics. I open it with a text editor. This is the organization of my dataset. Here it's a dataset, how it is entered. It's not in Excel, this is not, this is just written in text. You see that every line contains information. On each information, each cell is separated by a comma. You have a comma, 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 comma. Comma, for CSV, we say that this is the separator of field. We have different fields, and comma separates the fields. So CSV, it's a way to enter a text. It's a way to enter a data set. And the separator is comma. Some data sets are separated by space. Some data sets are separated by tabulation. If you want to know, you have to open the data set with a text editor. So here I know it's a comma. It's a comma. So I'm closing my data set. I know that. To open a data set in R, we use read.table. So open the data set for that read.table. My data set name. So my data set name is ergonomics. It's a name. As it is a name, a string, I have to use quote mark. We made it before for the part. So the name of the data set is ergonomics.csv. Important set equal true. Set equal comma. The separator is comma. And one more thing that I have to say, the first line of my dataset, contains the header. The first line of my dataset contains the header. I can show that again to you. This is the first line of my dataset. We call that the header, the headers. So this is the name of the variable. After that header lines, you have the values. So I have to tell you that the first line contains the header. It's very simple in R. We will just say header equal T. T like true. Either is true. I copy, I paste, and you will see something very annoying. You will see the dataset, but it will invade your screen. This is the dataset.
ได้ไหมคะถ้าหนูไม่เปลี่ยนชื่อไฟล์นะคะไม่ได้ทำอะไรเลยหนูสามารถจะ copy ที่อาจารย์จูเลียนนะคะเขียนบรรทัดที่ 14 มาลงในนะคะคอนโซลของโปรแกรมอาได้เลยเห็นไหมคะแล้วหนูก็จะได้นะคะข้อมูลตารางปรากฏใน
So you see that it's possible to read the dataset from your computer. So we can read the dataset in the computer. So if you have a dataset in Excel, CSV, text, whatever tab separated, it's possible to read it in R. R is able to read the dataset.
อาจารย์ได้ยกมือค่ะ
So the problem is that I cannot play with the dataset yet because here, you see, I cannot pick up a cell. I can do nothing. I have the dataset. It's just on display. So when you execute read the table dataset, either is true, you display the dataset. I don't want to display. I want to store it in the memory of my computer to work with it after. So what we will do is that we will read the dataset and we will assign the dataset to an object. So I will create an object with the dataset. And in R, we can manipulate after this dataset. So to assign the dataset to an object, I will call my dataset that. So to assign is very simple. I do exactly the same thing, but I will use a row that. When I do that, nothing happens on screen, but it means that I have been creating a new object. This new object is that, and this new object that is my dataset. So assigning, it means creating. We are creating a new object. So the result of the command is in that. So now I can start to play because my dataset is in R.
ทันไหมคะใครยังไม่ได้ยกมือขึ้นนะคะ
So next step, we will look at the organization of the dataset in R. To look at the organization of the dataset, we use str by structure. So I'm using the command str that, and this will give me the structure of the dataset. So this will give me some summary information about my data. first thing that is very interesting to know is that I have 6,068 observations with 17 variables. So there are 17 properties in this data set. So everyone, you should have this. So we know the number of observations, we know the number of variables.
แต่ตั้งแต่แรกใช่แล้วมันมีงานใหม่กันไอ้ที่ไม่เป็นไรนะในชีวิตเราไม่สว่างโอเคไหมคะไม่ได้นั่นหรือเรียนกับเพื่อนได้ไม่รู้ได้ไหมไม่ได้ไม่รู้ไม่ได้ต่อไปเป็น forward slash ก็คือเป็นคนค่ะถ้าเซ็ตไม่มีประหยัดอะไรก็จะไม่ได้เพราะว่ามันเป็นทีละขั้นบันไดลูกบันไดเป็นขั้น2 3ถ้าเป็น1 9ขั้นต่อไปก็ไปนะไปไม่ได้เข้าใจความหมายนะเพราะฉะนั้นเซ็ตนะคะตั้งแต่แรกเลิกปล่อยถูกปล่อยตามที่อาจารย์เรียกเขาเนี่ยนะอะไรคะปีแล้วแต่แรกเพราะฉะนั้นเซ็ตวงที่ใจเป็นคนที่ต้องไม่เลิกใช่ไหมคะเห็นไหมคะไม่ใช่ป๊อปปี้วางป๊อปปี้วางอะไรก็ผิดอันต่อมาเป็นอย่างไรใช่ไหมคือก็แบบนี้แล้วก็พอไม่เกินอย่างไรแต่ละครั้งแบบเข้าใจนะคะ
แล้วโทษนะฮะด้วย
ใครที่ใช้ได้เหมือนเพื่อนคนที่เดียวนะสลายความเป็นกลุ่มย่อยนะคนที่เดียวไม่ทันไม่ทันไม่ได้กลับบ้านเลยนะคุณย่อยมีได้ไม่มีปัญหาแต่คนที่สลายเดิมถ้าคุณเพื่อนได้ก็ต้องช่วยมาได้ลูกโอเคพอฝันแล้วเนี่ยพอฝันเป็นยังไงโอ้ย
สียบรถ
ได้ไหมคะนี่เพียงแค่ขั้นเริ่มต้นนะ
ตัวล่างแล้วก็ยิงกับล่าง
คุณจะบอกข่าวดีที่คุณทำกันอยู่เนี่ยนะคะยังไม่เข้าการวิเคราะห์เลยค่ะแค่ทำไมคะ
ให้มันไม่ครบจะต้องเป็นคนที่ว่า
ไม่บอกโปรแกรมว่าทำไมคะจะเอาไฟล์ตรงนั้นมาใช้ในการวิเคราะห์ใช้เลยนะคะใช่ไหมคะถ้าไปดีนะคะจะบอกว่าให้คุณมาให้พี่ตะวันก่อนได้พี่ไม่ใส่ไปเลยนะเอาได้ลูกอ้าวได้ไหมคะตรงนี้ตรงนี้ได้แล้วที่แถวหน้าแถวนี้นะคะแถวนี้เรียบร้อยแถวนี้นะคะแถวนี้ก็ได้แล้วแถวนี้นะคะแถวสามแถวสามได้แล้วแถวสี่นะคะแถวสี่ได้ไหมเยี่ยมค่ะแถวห้าเอาแถวห้าไม่มีคนเข้าอ่ะโอเคได้ไหมแถวหนึ่งส่งเพื่อนไป1 คนคนที่คิดว่าตัวเองหล่อที่สุดมาเลยอ่ะเราจะไม่ทิ้งใครไว้ข้างหลังนะคะโอเคได้ไหมคะได้ไหมพี่เพื่อนเก่งทุกอย่างเดี๋ยวไม่คนอ่ะที่มันโดนเราเสียเงินแค่ก่อนโอ้โหใช่ค่ะเปิดมาแล้วอยู่ประมาณนี้เลยใช่ไหมคะรู้จักเลขก็คือได้ก็ไม่หลุดต้องเซ็นว่าเขาเซ็นเขาเซ็นว่าอันนี้จะลงแข่งขันโอเคเดี๋ยว โอเคแค่นี้ใช่ไหมคะใส่เข้าไปแล้วบอกว่ามันคืออะไรนะไอ้สีเขียวที่บอกว่าเนี่ยเราเริ่มถึงตรงนี้เราต้องระวังเดี๋ยวนะถ้าใช้คำสั่งนี้มันคืออะไรเพื่อไม่ทิ้งกันนะคะ
โอเค I will excite you a little bit because now let's see a little bit what we have inside that.
เอาตาม อ่านดูไม่ทันนะคะเพราะว่าเดี๋ยวเราจะเห็นสิ่งที่พยายามใส่มาสแตนสำหรับพวกหนู
Because you're certainly curious to know in the dataset what we have. And one of the variables that is very interesting in the dataset is what are the soldiers doing there, their occupation. So their occupation is contained in two variables. This is component or branch. So the one that is interesting for me, this is branch, this is this variable. If I look at just one variable, see, I will not look at the whole data set. It's not possible to display all the data set. It's too big. It's a too big data set to be on your screen. It cannot fit on screen. So we will look just at one thing. This is look at branch. And if I want to look just one variable, I will do indexing. So indexing, for that, I use dollar. That's dollar branch. So this is just one variable. I copy my command, I paste it. And you see that there are several categories. Plenty, actually. I have the score for the 6,068 soldiers. Is it interesting to show the distribution like this? No. Because in the class, you remember, I show you that to display a distribution, we can make a table. So this is a table of value, size, and frequency. So we will make that table. To make the table, we have to say that the variable we have is a factor. It's a category. A factor is a category. So we will transform branch as a category. So to make the transformation, I will assign directly the new variable at the same place. I have to be very careful here because I will modify my table. I'm going to modify my table. I paste, and if you look now at str that, you will see something has changed. So you see that branch. Now it's a category. I have three levels. So the soldier in the army can be in three branches. If I want to know the levels of that dollar branch, I can write just like this. So soldiers can be combat, they can fight, fighter. They can be the service support for combat, or they can be the combat support. I don't know the difference, I am not a soldier, but in the army, in the American army, they divide them like this. We can look also at the component, it's the same thing. So we can do the same things for component. You see, just because it's interesting to know what we have in the data set, and because as you may be curious, I am curious too. So, and you will see that the component is a little bit different. The component is the kind of army you are. So, some people can be in the regular army. So, myself, I have been in the regular army for 10 months. You can be in the reserve. So the reserve is for people who want to join the army from part-time jobs and things like this. Or you can be Army National Guard. So maybe in Thailand it's more complicated, but in US it was the same. Simple, just 3 components. So you know probably something. If you want to enter the army, you cannot be too small for some force. If you are too small, you cannot enter the army. So we will see whether there is a selection by size to enter the army. And just before that, we will look at the distribution for the different components. To look at the distribution, just table that dollar component. And you will see that what I have been explaining in class is now in action. So, in my data set, I have 2,700 National Army Guard, just 220 people from the reserve, and more than 3,000 from the regular army. So this is the table of effective and valid for this variable. So do you want to know, for instance, something more complicated? I told you that there are women and men in the data set. If you want to know how they distribute, we can. I will do the same for gender. And look at what we can do. It's funny. We can do the contingency table. And you will see that R is very powerful because you don't have to count by yourself. R is doing the job. I don't know. So here we have the contingency table. So we see that in the reserve, we have more females than male. National Guard, we have more males than females. And in the regular army, we have 2 times more males than females. Okay? So that starts to be interesting. We start to describe the data set. So I leave you the script. And then after we will think about something.
gender อยู่ gender ละเอียดตอนนั้นนะได้ไหมก็ถึงให้ไปอินเลยนั้นก่อนแล้วก็เช็คแล้วก็ถึงค่อยเอามาคอปปี้ได้ไหมโอเคไหมคะว่างไปหน่อยโอเคทุกคนทุกคนนะคะเข้ามาบางอย่างมีใครไม่ได้ใครยกมือขึ้น
So now that we have the table, we will do like in the class. We will do like in the theory. We will make the plot. So you remember for categorical variables, the plot was pie chart, bar plot, and for contingency table was mosaic plot. So let's try. I want to know the distribution by branch. Bar plot, that dollar branch. I did not have it. Sorry, my mistake. Cable. Download cable, that's the log. Everyone do mistake. So, this is the barcode, and it shows the distribution in terms of routes. So you have combat arms, combat service support, combat support. If you don't like this color, you can change the color. I like red. I like red color. If you want to make the same with red color, you add red. Okay. It's a little bit more fancy in red. So we can do the same as a pie chart. To make the pie chart, you just write pie. So if I say red, it's very ugly. I should not say red. I will give it 3 colors because I have three groups. So I will say red, yellow, and green. We will give the American Army the color of reggae music. It's funny. See, let's give them reggae style color. Okay. See? American Army reggae color. You see that for entering 3 different colors, I use function C. C function is to enter a vector. I want to have several things. So red, yellow, and green. This is the pie chart.
ถ่ายไปแล้วมันได้ทำแล้วว่าพิมพ์ตาม
So try to do that, and we can make a little bit break. Then after, I will show you.
เราพิมพ์แล้วที่จะไม่เหมือน
Okay, we continue.
ข่าวดีค่ะ ถ้าทำอันนี้สำเร็จมีเบรก เบรกคือไม่ใช่อาหารนะคะพักค่ะ แล้วเดี๋ยวจะกลับมาช่วงสุดท้ายของวันนี้แล้วไปวันนั้น
อาจารย์ต่อ
ไม่ ผู้ใช้ใช้ดีใช่เก็บไว้ความทรงจำใหญ่
มันจะมีที่นี่อะไรนะ
หลานใช้กับคนที่เป็นเด็ก
ได้หล่ะ
เอามือมันเกยเป็น
ร้านขายแล้วมันต้องปีที่นี่ดูได้ไหม
มีเดียว
แต่วันไหน
โอ้ไม่อยากจะบอกเลยว่าพวกหนูนี่นะคะทำได้ดีมากเลยค่ะหลายๆคนนี่นะคะทำได้ที่อาจารย์ชูเล่นทำเลยเยี่ยมมากค่ะเยี่ยมมากค่ะเดี๋ยวไปตบมือให้เลย
ดีใจไง
10 นาทีค่ะหลังจากนี้แล้วจะมาต่อภาคสุดท้ายสำหรับวันนี้เบรกค่ะเบรกถ้าไม่เบรกก็ไม่ว่านะคะแต่ให้เวลา10 นาที10 นาทีผมจะไปหาอะไรกินจะไปเข้าห้องน้ำจะไปเติมสีปากนะคะ
คือสมบัติ
สมบัติใครดูแลกันเองดีนะคะทั้งเนี่ยวางเป็นหนึ่งเลยเนี่ยว
างไม่ดีนะ
ไลฟ์ครูบอกว่าเมื่อกี้ที่แต่งรูปไป15 ตอนเนี่ยพูดตรงไหนนายกโอนมาเลยว่าอันนี้อยู่นะคะ
ที่เดียวไม่มีเอากุญแจมาดิ
ทำไมต้องพูดแบบทำเราเลย เอาขึ้นไปเลย
เราไม่คือแต่เพื่อนเราจบแล้วแค่35 บาทจะฟังเองไม่ได้หรอก
ยอมไม่รู้อะไรเราต้องพูดไปเรื่อยไอ้ตาลตาลไปดูสิที่เบาใส่ขาช่างนะที่หลังนะไม่ยังดีเบาพูดไปเรื่อยตั้งนานจะเอาเสือเอาเสือเลย
เราขอโทษเราตั้งใจ
ตั้งแต่ตั้งใจ
มันก็อธิบายเฉยๆป่ะมันก็อธิบายเฉยคนดูทั้งคนเจ้าของช่องเหมือนพี่โตเขาบอกว่าเขาอัดคลิป
เขาเปลี่ยนเป็นไลฟ์สดเพราะว่าเหมือนเราเกิดอะไร
แล้วมันไม่เห็นชัวร์เลยเอาเรื่อยๆข้างหอข้างซ้ายหอสีชมพูไหมตะคีกันเป็น
เขาไลฟ์สดใน YouTube ด้วย
สวยจัง
ต่อแอบดูแอบดู
มันวงกลมไม่ตรงเขาใช้โปรแกรมเขาใช้โปรแกรมในการเรียกว่าซีพีเข้าอ่ะแล้วเปิดนะก็เลยบางสิ่งได้ดูแม่เปิดให้ดูหน่อยเปิดแม่เปิดจะตัดไปก่อน
ก็ยังไม่ฟัง
ดูแต่รู้แต่เรื่องผู้ชายเนี่ยไม่ควรเปิดเราไม่ดูเลยนี่สิเลยอ่ะ
ก็ต่อเพจเดียวกันร้านเทมาเป็นตั้งที่ยืนรอตอนนั้นยังคนดีปีที่แล้วเดี๋ยวกูเปิดรูปให้ดูเลย
ลูกมันปันดีจังเลย
กินอีกแล้วกินมันนี่หวานจะตายเนี่ยคนนี้Would you like to go back home? If you want to go back home,
I want home.
Okay. Sit down and listen to what I do.
So you probably remember the class. I have been showing to you how to display a contingency table. So we made a contingency table. We can display it very, very simple in R. I will do my table. So this is my contingency table. And just in front, I ask R to plot. So by doing this, we will have the mosaic plot of gender and component. And this is not at all what I want. Maybe like this. So you see, I have a problem. I could not find the function for mosaic plot. So I will type interrogation, interrogation, mosaic. So graphic mosaic plot. So the command is mosaic plot. Because I misspelled it. And if I want to know how to use the command, interrogation mark, the name of the function, and X. So what is X? Formula, contingency table in array form. Oh, we find. So this is the help, it's the measurement. We try again. Okay. This is not good. This is not what I want. No, still not. Wow. So I go back to the X because I made an error. Okay, so we will change a little bit. We will use the formula because I have a problem with the basic style. So you see, the command is used is something like wave. So component plus gender and data equal data equal data. We try. I hope it will work. Okay. Yes, finally. So we have the mosaic plot. So we see the gender ratio for each of the army components. And we see that this is in the army reserve that we have the best balance between males and females. So this is the mosaic plot. This is the mosaic plot. It's a way to represent the contingency table. So now we will try to do something a little bit more complicated. I want the size only for the male. I want the size only for the male. So I will use logical indexing only for the male. So if you look at that dollar gender, and that I'm just looking at the organization of this. So two levels can be female or male, and you see that it's associated with two numbers, so 2 for male, 1 for female. So this is my gender. let's do something a little bit strange. That gender equal male. If I do that, you see that I will have a long vector. It will write true when the observation is a male, false when it's a female. So you can see that the data set is organized first with male, then with female. So here I just type this. It's a condition. We call that a condition. So it can be true or false. If I want to now use this true or false, I can pick up data according to the condition. I want size. So size, I think, is texture. So if I look at the organization of my data set, str dot. So I have gender, 18-inch branch installation. So this is not what I want. This is stature. So stature, this is the size. So if I type that $, stature, I will have the stature for everyone. Now I don't want for everyone. I want only for male. So this is called logical indexing. I will take the size only for male. So it's a special indexing. You see that I'm using bracket and I'm using a condition. So I want the stature for that only for the male. Let's have a look. So you see that I do not have anymore 6,068 data. I have 4,082 data. So this is the data only for male. I have only the size for male. So here we call that logical indexing. And now that I have this, I will draw the distribution of size for male. So for that, I will do an histogram. So to make the histogram, the command is simple in R. This is histogram. I'm taking my variable, it's a vector. Not histogram, sorry. And here you see the distribution of male size in the army. That's interesting. That's interesting. I told you that in several army, you will not enter the army if you are very small. So in America, you can enter the army even if you are very small. There is no problem. You see, we have some small people in the army. Because it's interesting for us, I want to know now a few things. I want to know the minimal and maximal size in the American Army for male. So, minimal, maximal, very easy, it's min max. So the smallest soldier in the army is less than 150 centimeters, and the tallest one is nearly 2 meters tall. We can look at the median. So what is, if we want to cut the distribution in two, what would be the value? So the median. So the median is 1 meter and 75 centimeters. So the American soldiers are smaller than me. 50%, at least 50% of the American soldiers are smaller than me. Yes, I'm taller than them. Good question. So we will do the same thing after by branch, because you know, if you work as a support combat or support or combat troop, it's not the same. It's not the same. Question? Any question, problem?
I want to keep it.
อันนี้เคสที่สี่หมายความว่าตัวอักษรตัวใหญ่ตัวเล็กมีผลนะคะเพื่อที่ต้องพิมพ์ให้ตรงตามใช่ที่ตรงเพเตอร์นะคะไม่ใช่เอ็นตัวใหญ่ต้องเป็นเอ็นอ๋อละโอเคเป็นตัวใหญ่ต้องเป็นต้องเป็นตัวใหญ่อันนี้ไว้ทำท้ายชื่อที่จะต้องจำไว้ต้องพิจารณาอะไรโอเคอันนี้ได้เดี๋ยวก็ลองดูนะ
So let's do a little bit of ethno-anthropometry. We can do a little bit of ethno-anthropometry. In the American Army, you have black people, white people, Latino, you have Asian people. So I'm curious. I want to know if Asian people are smaller or larger than black people or white people. So we just compare the median. So I can compute the median because I know that in my data set, I have something related with ethnicity. STR dot. So, and this is called DOD race. So if you go back to so we call that an ontology, the ontology of a data set that explains you all the factors. 1 is for white, 2 is for black, 3 is for Latino, 4 for Asia. So we will try to get the median for white, black, Latino, Asia. For that, I need to combine 2 conditions. Should be a male and should be Asia. So to combine 2 conditions, we have to use and. Should be male and Asian. So this is the race. So if I want my 2 conditions, here I will add and that dollar race equal 4. So for Asian, we can do this. So in the American Army, the median size for Asian male is 1 meter and 68 centimeters, 69 centimeters. So it seems that they are a little bit smaller than the average, so that's the median in the American Army. We can look at the size of black people. Black people, this is category 2 in the data set. So you see that in the African, sorry, the black people, they have the same size and the average. We can look for the white. For white, so the white is number one. So they are a little bit taller, one more centimeter than the black. Okay, it's anthropometric character. It's not really surprising. Not really surprising. Not really surprising. This is not very big differences in average. Not big differences. So we will compute the mean now for the whole male population. So the mean is given by mean. Very simple. And we do that for. So if I compute the mean for all the male, for their size, it's 175 or 176 centimeters. This is the mean. So this is the data for the American Army. Here it is if I take the measurement for the 4,000 soldiers. 4,000 soldiers. There is more than 4,000 men in the sample. But we know that there are some differences. If I take a subsample of white, they will be big, maybe a little bit larger than a subsample of Asian people. So, and we will try to do the last thing. So the last thing is that I want to compute the average for 30 males random. I will take 30 random males. So to take 30 random males, I will use the function sample. So just look at what sample is doing. If I do sample, so imagine that I have the data 1 to 10. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10. If I do sample of this, I will reshuffle. If you use sample, you are reshuffling the data. Sample is for reshuffle. If I want a subsample of just 5, here, I can write sample and give me the 5 first. You see, it's a way to resample. So we can use a sample to pick up, to reshuffle all the size for male, and I will take just the first 31. So I just have to add one thing, sample here. I take, reshuffle them, and I will take only the first 31 by doing numeric indexing. So, and you will see that it's interesting because now this is not the mean of the population, this is the sample mean. If I do it one time, you see I have 175, 175 and 3, 176, 176, 176, 176, 177, 175, 174. Why? It's because every time I'm taking a subsample. I do not have the mean for the whole, but I have the mean for the sample. The variation I have here, this is the variation due to sampling. I have a variation due to sampling. So the variation in mean I have is the variation due to sampling. So you see that here, and this will be your assignment, do that 500 times. Do that 500 times for next time. So next time we will do that 500 times, but we will use the computer. We will not do by hand. If I increase my sample size, of course, the variation will be closer to the mean of the population. But if I reduce, if I take just 10 males, you see that here, if I change and if I take just 10, the variation 175, 176, 74, 78, 76, 74, 73, 75, 78. So I have more variation. If you take a large sample, you have less variation on estimate than small sample. So what I am illustrating here, this is the law of great number. This is the law of great number. So I let you play with that. And I want to make sure that you have the script up to this line. Because next time, you see all the things that you are going to do, plenty of things. Okay. You do the script. So you can look at many things now, because in the data set I gave, you have the biceps, you have the head circumference. Just something funny. You can maybe ask whether the very strong one are the one with the biggest head or not. That's perfect. At university, we are not very strong, but we are very intelligent. No. So we don't have big arm, but big brain.
ฟังทันไหมคะเราไม่ได้มีกองทัพต้องมีอะไรคะแต่ถ้าเรา
So next time we are going to see whether it's true or not, because I'm not sure it's true. You know, it's a story. Huh? Maybe strong people are intelligent, and weak people are stupid. unfair world. We'll see.
เป็นทั้งเรื่องจริงแล้วก็เรื่องตลกมันมีความสามารถในการจำแนกแยกได้เลยเอาเหรอคะอันนี้ไหนพี่เราไปนะมาเรียนวิชานี้
If you want to know, you have to come for the next time.
Of course, it is compulsory for them to extend the next one.
Yeah. If not, you have to make an exercise. And join the army.
By the way, that is it for today. Yes. Oh, finally! Anyhow, please say thanks. You know, many thanks. Many thanks to Ajahn Julian. Please give him a big, big hand. No. If you want, you can put it on photo. You know what? Next time, because we got you so they lose their, their makeup. Their lips are not red anymore. Because maybe. Okay. เอาละค่ะ เดี๋ยวสคริปต์
So the script I will send you,
Okay, yes.
so you can play with it.
ไม่ต้องห่วงเรื่องสคริปต์นะคะ
I will send the script to Ajahn tomorrow, and I will send also the PowerPoint.
yes PowerPoint ด้วยไม่ต้องกังวลนะคะนอกเหนือจากนั้นแล้วทุกสิ่งทุกอย่างที่เกิดขึ้นในห้องเรียนนี้ ได้อยู่ในไหนคะอะไรก็ตามที่เราพูดคุยกันนะคะมันอาจจะกลายเป็นฟุตพริ้นท์แต่รู้สึกเป็นกลุ่ม private ต้องถามพี่โตดูถูกเรียบร้อยแล้วนะไม่ต้องกังวลนะทั้งนั้นก็ถ้าเป็นแล้วก็ have a very nice day evening enjoy นะคะ
Thank you, teacher.
see you again
Thank you.
อ้าวมาเป็นมิสเซสที่เคยหาที่เอาอะไรเข้ามาเนี่ยนะคะเก็บออกมานะคะให้เรียบร้อยอย่าให้ใครเข้ามาว่าได้นะคะ
เดี๋ยวไปปิดนี่ก่อนปิดไลฟ์ก่อน
เลื่อนยังไงอ่ะ
มึงต้องหมุนก่อนให้มันหลวมเนี่ยแล้วก็วางใส่ลง
อังคารหน้าอยากจะเจอครูหรือเปล่าคะไปคนเย่อังคารหน้าจะเจอครูไหมคะ Would you like to see me next week?
เสียงทุกคนมีเหมือนกันแล้ว เป็นดาราเหรอ
ตลกแต่ทำไง
เห็นไหมแล้วก็
บอกไม่มีตังค์
อย่าเล่นทำกันดี
ใครเล่นเล่นทำไมเล่นทำไมวะนันทพรเสี่ยงหยองประจัดการเรียนหน้าร
หัส463
นันทพรเที่ยงหยองเล่นทำไมอ่ะรหัสนิสิตอะไรนะ
650 30 463
3
อู้
นี่ไงเขาเรียกว่าเลย
6503043นางสาวนันทพรเสี่ยงหยองวิทยาศาสตร์ บัณฑิตสาขาชีววิทยา
ทำอะไรอ่ะ
บ้านอยู่ประจวบเล่นกล้องทำไมครับ
ไม่ปิดนะเปิดอยู่
เปิดตลอด
เปิดไว้นะ
ไม่ดูเนี่ย
ตัวเยอะนะได้ไหม
โจดิอยากรอบก่อนเดี๋ยวเราจะดับรอบก่อนโจปักโจไม่ได้หรอเอาแล้วไม่ปิดแล้วปล่อยมันทิ้งไปหมดแล้วปล่อยยาวกันยาวคิดนั้นคิดนานเขาอะไรไม่ยอมจบแต่พี่ตอนปิดเลยนี่เว้นเลยไม่ลองมือมาสั่งทำวะยังไงมาแล้วโอ้
ยังไม่ได้ปิด
เอาเหรอ
ไลฟ์สดเหรอ